The elevator doors opened to the executive floor, and Sarah Mitchell stepped out carrying nothing but a leather portfolio and the kind of quiet confidence that comes from building an empire from scratch. She wore dark jeans, a charcoal blazer over a simple white tee, and boots that had walked through boardrooms in 15 countries. No entourage, no warning, just her. The Manchester Grand Resort in downtown Chicago, her flagship property, the crown jewel of Mitchell Hospitality International, stood 60 stories above Lake Michigan. She designed the lobby herself, chosen every fixture, approved every hire, or so she thought. What she didn't know as she approached the front desk at 2:47 p.m. on a cold Tuesday in March was that in exactly 11 minutes, she would dismantle careers, expose a conspiracy, and reveal a truth so ugly it would force her to question everything she'd built. But first, she had to survive being thrown out of her own hotel. Before we dive in, tell me where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments. And if you've ever been judged before you even opened your mouth, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Sarah's heels clicked softly against the Italian marble as she crossed the vast lobby. Afternoon light poured through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across guests sipping espresso in leather chairs. The scent of jasmine drifted from fresh arrangements on the concierge desk. Everything looked perfect, polished, exactly as she'd envisioned it 8 years ago when she'd stood in an empty lot with an architect and a dream that people said a 32-year-old woman with no family money and no connections couldn't possibly pull off. She proved them wrong. Mitchell Hospitality International now operated 19 luxury properties across North America. The Manchester Grand was her first, her favorite, her statement to the world. She visited unannounced twice a year, blending in with guests, observing, listening, making sure the culture she'd built from the ground up remained intact. Today felt different though. She'd received 3 separate emails over the past month. Anonymous, vague, all saying the same thing. Something's wrong at the Manchester. Staff morale is collapsing. Guests are complaining. Management is covering it up. Sarah didn't ignore warnings. She investigated them. So she flew in from Denver that morning, checked into a nearby hotel under a different name, and now walked through her own lobby as if she were just another traveler. She approached the main desk where 3 staff members stood in crisp navy uniforms. The woman in the center, tall with auburn hair pulled into a tight bun, looked up. Her name tag read Rebecca Hartman, front desk manager. Beside her stood 2 younger employees. Olivia Chun, mid-20s with sharp eyes and a smile that didn't reach them, and Derek Stone, maybe 30, muscular build, arms crossed like he was guarding a nightclub instead of welcoming guests. Sarah stopped at the counter and set down her portfolio. The 3 of them stared at her, not with welcome, not with the warmth Mitchell Hospitality trained every employee to project. They stared with suspicion, with assessment, with judgment. Rebecca spoke first, her voice clipped. "Can I help you?" Sarah smiled. "I'd like to check in, please. I have a reservation under Mitchell." Rebecca's eyes narrowed. She tapped at her computer screen, fingers moving slowly, deliberately. Then she stopped, looked up, looked Sarah up and down, taking in the jeans, the casual blazer, the absence of designer labels. "I'm not seeing anything under that name." Sarah kept her voice even. "Should be there. Executive suite. Reserved 3 days ago." Rebecca leaned back slightly, exchanging a glance with Olivia. Olivia stepped forward. "Ma'am, our executive suites require advance verification. We don't just hand them out." Sarah's pulse quickened, but her face remained calm. "I understand. That's why I made a reservation." Derek chimed in now, his voice louder than necessary. "You got any ID? Proof of payment? Because we've had issues before with people trying to game the system." The words hung in the air like smoke. Gaming the system. Sarah reached into her bag and pulled out her driver's license and a Black American Express card. Both had her name, Sarah E. Mitchell. She placed them on the counter. Rebecca picked them up with 2 fingers, holding them at a distance as if they might be contaminated. She studied the ID, looked at Sarah, looked back at the ID. "This doesn't look right," she said flatly. Olivia leaned in. "Could be fake. We see this sometimes. People print cards, fake IDs, walk in here thinking we won't check. Sarah's jaw tightened. That's my legal identification and my credit card. Both valid. Rebecca set them down but didn't return them. Instead, she pressed a button under the desk. Her voice came through the lobby speakers, calm but laced with authority. Security to the front desk. Possible fraud situation. Heads turned. Guests looked up from their phones. A couple near the fireplace stopped talking mid-sentence. An older man with silver hair lowered his newspaper. A woman with a toddler in a stroller glanced over nervously. And Sarah stood there, alone, in the center of a lobby she owned, being accused of fraud by her own employees. At 17, Sarah had walked into a luxury hotel in Boston with her mother. They were there for a conference, her mother a keynote speaker, a professor of economics, one of the few black women in her field. They approached the desk to check in, and the clerk looked at them, smiled tightly and said, "Are you sure you're in the right place?" Her mother, ever composed, had simply provided the confirmation number. But the clerk made them wait, made them prove it, made them feel like they trespassed into a space that wasn't meant for them. Sarah remembered standing there, 13 years old, watching her mother's shoulders square, her voice stay steady, her dignity intact even as she was questioned. That moment planted something in Sarah. Promise. One day she would build hotels where no one had to prove they belonged, where respect was the default, not the exception. Now, standing in her own creation, that memory burned hot in her chest. Derek walked around the desk, positioning himself between Sarah and the exit. "You're gonna need to step aside," he said, his tone bordering on aggressive. "We'll sort this out, but you can't block the desk." Sarah didn't move. "I'm not blocking anything. I'm checking in." Rebecca's voice turned cold. "No, you're not. And if you don't cooperate, we'll have you removed from the property." A security guard emerged from the side hallway. Tall, broad, shouldered, uniform pressed. His name tag read Marcus Hall, head of security. He walked toward the desk, his expression neutral but his posture ready. Rebecca pointed at Sarah. "This woman's trying to check in with suspicious credentials. We need her escorted out until we can verify her identity." Marcus looked at Sarah, looked at the ID and card still sitting on the desk. Then he looked back at Rebecca. "What's the issue?" Olivia jumped in. "She doesn't match the profile of our usual guests. We think the card might be stolen." The words sliced through the air. "Didn't match the profile." Sarah's voice dropped, quiet but sharp. "And what profile is that exactly?" Rebecca didn't answer. She didn't have to. The silence said everything. Marcus hesitated. He picked up the ID, studied it closely, then looked at Sarah again. Something shifted in his eyes. Recognition, maybe, or doubt. But before he could speak, Rebecca cut him off. "Marcus, we don't have time for this. Remove her now or I'll call the police." That's when Sarah pulled out her phone. She didn't make a call. She opened an app, entered a 6-digit code, and within seconds, every computer screen behind the front desk flickered. The reservation system, the employee portal, the security monitors, all of them flashed the same message in bold red letters. Administrative override. Identity confirmed. Sarah Mitchell, CEO, Mitchell Hospitality International. Access level alpha. Rebecca's face drained of color. Olivia's mouth fell open. Derek took a step back, his confidence evaporating. Marcus stared at the screens, then at Sarah, then back at the screens. And the guests, the ones who'd been watching, the ones who'd seen the suspicion, the accusation, the near removal, they started whispering, pulling out phones. One woman, blonde hair in a ponytail, raised her phone and started recording. A man in a business suit did the same. Someone muttered, "Oh my God, that's her. That's Sarah Mitchell." Sarah looked directly at Rebecca. Her voice was steady, cold, and final. "You just accused your CEO of fraud. You tried to have me removed from my own property. And you did it because I didn't look like what you thought a guest here should look like." Rebecca stammered. We didn't know." Sarah cut her off. "You didn't ask. You didn't verify. You assumed. And that assumption just ended your career." She turned to Marcus. Call my executive assistant. Her name is Jordan Price. She's been on standby. Tell her to initiate Protocol 7. Marcus, still processing, nodded slowly and stepped aside to make the call. Sarah looked back at Rebecca, Olivia, and Derek. All three of them frozen, faces pale, the weight of their mistake crushing down on them. But Sarah wasn't done. Not even close. Because what she was about to uncover wasn't just about 3 employees making a terrible judgment call. It was about a system, culture, a rot that had been growing beneath the surface while she was building hotels in other cities. And in the next 8 minutes, she would dismantle it piece by piece in front of everyone. How would you react if you found out your own team had betrayed everything you built? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Sarah didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The entire lobby had gone quiet, guests standing in clusters, phones raised, every eye fixed on the front desk. Rebecca Hartman gripped the edge of the counter like it might steady her, but her hands were shaking. Olivia Chen's face had gone from confident to ashen. Derek Stone, who moments ago had blocked Sarah's path with his body, now stood off to the side, arms limp, staring at the floor. Marcus Hall returned, phone in hand. Jordan Price is on her way up. She said she's been monitoring the situation remotely. Sarah nodded. Good. Tell her to bring the last 6 months of incident reports, guest complaints, and internal staff reviews for this location. Marcus hesitated. That's a lot of files. Sarah's gaze didn't waver. Then she'll need a cart. Rebecca finally found her voice, shaky and desperate. Ms. Mitchell, there's been a misunderstanding. Sarah turned to her slowly. A misunderstanding. That's what you're calling this. Rebecca swallowed hard. We were following protocol. We've had issues with fraudulent bookings. We were just being cautious. Sarah stepped closer. Cautious. You called security on me within 90 seconds. You held my identification like it was contaminated. You announced over the intercom that I was committing fraud. She paused. And you did all of that without running a single verification check. Without asking a single clarifying question. Tell me, Rebecca, what part of that was protocol? Olivia tried to interject. We've been trained to watch for red flags. Unusual behavior. Guests who don't fit the... She stopped herself, but the damage was already done. Sarah finished the sentence for her. Guests who don't fit the image. Olivia's silence was answer enough. Derek, clearly panicking now, blurted out. This isn't fair. You set us up. You came in here dressed like... Sarah raised an eyebrow. Like what, Derek? He stammered. Not like you didn't look. She waited, letting him dig deeper. You didn't look like someone who'd stay here, he finally said, voice barely above a whisper. The lobby erupted in murmurs. The blonde woman recording from the lounge chairs said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Did he really just say that? Another guest, an older black man in a tailored suit, shook his head and muttered, Unbelievable. Sarah turned away from Derek. He wasn't worth another second. Instead, she addressed the growing crowd. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm the founder and CEO of Mitchell Hospitality International. I built this hotel. I designed this lobby. I hired the first staff, trained them personally, and instilled a culture based on one principle. Everyone who walks through these doors deserves respect. Not judgment. Not suspicion. Respect. She let the words settle. What you just witnessed is a betrayal of that principle. And I'm gonna fix it right now. Jordan Price stepped out of the elevator. A sharp woman in her late 30s with close-cropped natural hair and an iPad in one hand, a rolling file cart in the other. She moved with purpose, stopping beside Sarah. Everything you asked for, she said quietly, plus a few things you didn't. Sarah glanced at the cart. How bad is it? Jordan's expression was grim. Worse than we thought. Sarah took a breath. Show me. Jordan pulled a tablet from the cart and brought up a file. This is from 8 weeks ago. A guest named Kimberly Hughes checked in. Single black woman. Traveling for business. Confirmed reservation. Corporate card. She was stopped at this very desk and questioned for 20 minutes. They accused her card of being flagged. It wasn't. They made her wait while they, quote, verified her employment. Checked out. They finally let her check in but put her in a standard room instead of the suite she'd booked. She was too exhausted to fight it. She left a 1-star review and never came back. Sarah's jaw tightened. Who handled that check-in? Jordan scrolled. Rebecca Hartman. Primary. Olivia Chen assisted. Sarah turned slowly toward Rebecca. You remember that? Rebecca's eyes darted. There were a lot of guests. We were busy. Jordan interrupted. There were 4 other guests that week who checked in without issue. All of them white. All of them given upgrades. Sarah's voice went cold. Keep going. Jordan pulled up another file. 3 weeks ago, Marcus Williams, black man, tech executive, booked the penthouse for an anniversary weekend. When he arrived, Derek Stone told him the penthouse was under maintenance and offered him a deluxe room instead. Marcus pushed back, called the corporate line. Turns out the penthouse wasn't under maintenance. It had been given to a walk-in guest who, according to the notes, looked like a better fit for the brand image. Sarah's hands curled into fists. Who approved that? Jordan's voice was flat. Rebecca Hartman signed off. Derek Stone executed it. The guests watching began to react audibly now. That's discrimination, one woman said. Another person pulled up their phone, clearly searching for the hotel's name, probably already drafting a review. The man in the business suit recording from the fireplace spoke directly into his camera. If you're watching this, do not stay here. This is not a one-time thing. This is a pattern. Sarah turned back to Rebecca. How many guests did you do this to? Rebecca's face crumbled. I can't. Jordan cut in. We've identified 14 incidents in the past 6 months alone. All involving guests of color. All handled by this desk team. All resulting in either delays, room downgrades, or outright refusals. And every single complaint that reached management was marked as resolved without follow-up. Sarah's voice shook with restrained fury. Who marked them resolved? Jordan hesitated. Your regional director of operations. Michael Bennett. The name hit Sarah like a punch. Michael Bennett. She'd hired him 4 years ago. Ivy League MBA. 20 years in hospitality. Impeccable references. She trusted him to oversee her Midwest properties, to uphold her standards, to be her eyes and ears when she couldn't be everywhere at once. And he'd covered it up. Get him on the phone, Sarah said. Jordan shook her head. He's not answering. But I pulled his communications. She turned the tablet toward Sarah. Email chains. Messages between Michael and Rebecca. One from 5 months ago read, keep the premium suites for high-value guests. Use discretion. We need to maintain brand perception. Another, 3 months ago. If someone doesn't look the part, delay them. Make them prove it. Better safe than sorry. Sarah read the emails in silence. Her hands were steady, but inside, a storm raged. She'd spent 15 years building this company on the belief that hospitality meant dignity. That luxury wasn't about exclusion, it was about excellence. And beneath her, people she trusted had turned it into a gatekeeping operation. She looked up at the crowd. These emails will be submitted to our legal team and to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Every guest affected will be contacted personally. Refunds, apologies, and accountability. That starts now. She turned to Rebecca, Olivia, and Derek. You're done. Effective immediately. Your access is revoked. Security will escort you out. Rebecca's voice broke. Please, I have a family. Bills. I made a mistake. Sarah's eyes were ice. You made 14 mistakes. And every single one of them was a choice. Marcus stepped forward. Ms. Mitchell, should I? Sarah stopped him. Actually, Marcus, I need to ask you something. You were here for some of these incidents. Why didn't you report them? Marcus met her gaze. I did. I filed 3 reports with Michael Bennett. All of them dismissed. He told me I was being overly sensitive, that I didn't understand the business side. Sarah's respect for Marcus deepened instantly. Thank you for trying. You'll keep your job. In fact, you're promoted. Head of Guest Relations. Effective today. Marcus blinked, surprised. Ma'am, you saw the problem, Sarah said. You tried to stop it. That's the kind of person I need leading this team. She turned back to the others. Rebecca, Olivia, Derek. Leave your badges on the desk. You have 10 minutes to collect your personal belongings. If you're not out by then, you'll be trespassing. Olivia finally broke. This is insane. You can't just... Sarah cut her off. I can. And I am. Because you didn't just fail at your job. You turned my hotel into a place where people are judged by the color of their skin. That ends today. The three of them stood frozen for a moment, then slowly, one by one, placed their name badges on the counter. Rebecca's hands trembled as she did. Olivia's face was streaked with tears. Derek's was blank, hollow. Marcus gestured toward the back hallway. Let's go. As they walked away, the guests in the lobby began to clap. Slowly at first, then louder. The woman who'd been recording approached Sarah. Thank you, she said. I'm a travel blogger. This is going everywhere. Sarah nodded. Good. People need to know. But the applause faded quickly because Sarah's phone buzzed. A message from Jordan. Michael Bennett just tried to access the system remotely. He's locked out, but he sent an email to the board. He's claiming you're overreacting. That this is a PR stunt. Sarah's expression hardened. Forward that email to me, and get the board on a conference call in 30 minutes. Jordan nodded. Done. But there's one more thing. Sarah waited. We found a group chat. Rebecca, Derek, Olivia, and 6 other front desk staff across 3 of your properties. They've been sharing tactics. How to delay certain guests. How to justify downgrades. How to avoid complaints. It's been going on for over a year. The air left Sarah's lungs. This wasn't just the Manchester. This was systemic. She looked around the lobby, at the guests still watching, still recording, still waiting to see what she'd do next. And she knew. This wasn't just about firing 3 people. This was about tearing down a rot and rebuilding from the foundation. But first, she had one more person to deal with. The man who'd enabled it all. And he had no idea what was coming. What would you do if you discovered the person you trusted most had been lying to you for years? Let me know below. The conference room on the 43rd floor of the Manchester Grand overlooked the Chicago skyline, glass walls framing the city like a painting. Sarah sat at the head of the long table, Jordan beside her with files stacked neatly, a laptop open, evidence queued and ready. Across from them, projected onto the screen, were the faces of Mitchell Hospitality. International's 6 board members. Distinguished, experienced, people Sarah had carefully selected over the years, investors, advisors, mentors. And on a separate screen alone was Michael Bennett. He looked calm. Too calm. Mid-50s, graying at the temples, expensive suit, the kind of man who'd spent decades learning how to control a room even through a video call. His voice came through the speakers smooth and practiced. Sarah, I'm glad we're having this conversation. I think there's been a significant misunderstanding. Sarah didn't respond. She let the silence stretch. Michael continued. What happened today at the Manchester was unfortunate. But I think we need to consider context. Rebecca, Olivia, and Derek were following guidelines I put in place to protect the brand. Luxury hospitality is about curation, about maintaining an atmosphere. Sometimes that requires discretion. Jordan's fingers hovered over her keyboard, but Sarah raised a hand slightly. Let him talk. Michael leaned back in his chair. Look, I understand you're upset. You walked in unannounced, and the team didn't recognize you. That's a training issue. We can address it. But terminating 3 employees on the spot in front of guests, that's reactionary. It's bad optics. One of the board members, Patricia Coleman, an investor from Boston, spoke up. Sarah, I have to agree. Firing staff publicly could expose us to lawsuits. We need to be careful here. Sarah finally spoke, her voice measured. Patricia, I didn't fire them because they didn't recognize me. I fired them because they discriminated against me and at least 14 other guests based on race. The room went quiet. Michael's calm facade cracked slightly. That's a serious accusation, Sarah. And frankly, I don't think it holds up. Every hotel uses judgment when managing guest flow. That's not discrimination. That's operational efficiency. Sarah leaned forward. Operational efficiency. Is that what you call telling a black tech executive that the penthouse he booked was under maintenance so you could give it to a white walk-in guest? Michael's jaw tightened. That was a staffing error. It was corrected. Sarah's voice hardened. It wasn't corrected. The guest was told the room wasn't available. He was offered a downgrade. And when he complained, his complaint was marked resolved by you without any follow-up. Michael shifted in his seat. I handle hundreds of complaints a month. I can't personally investigate every one. Jordan spoke up for the first time. Then maybe you can explain why you personally responded to this one. She pulled up an email on the screen. Michael's name at the top, sent to Rebecca Hartman. Guest issue resolved. No further action needed. Maintain current protocols. Michael's face flushed. I was closing the loop. That's standard procedure. Jordan brought up another email. How about this one? Sent from you to Derek Stone. If guests don't meet brand standards, delay check-in until a manager can evaluate. Discretion is key. We can't let the property lose its prestige. Michael's voice rose. That's taken out of context. Every luxury brand has standards. Sarah interrupted. Define brand standards, Michael. He hesitated. You know what I mean. Premium clientele. People who understand the level of service we provide. Sarah's eyes burned into the screen. People who look a certain way. Michael snapped. I never said that. Jordan pulled up the group chat. Then explain this. The screen filled with messages. Dozens of them. Between Rebecca, Olivia, Derek, and 6 other employees across Chicago, Detroit, and Milwaukee properties. Messages like, another one trying to book a suite, stalling until she gives up, and, LOL, guy showed up in a hoodie asking for the penthouse, told him systems down, and the one that made Sarah's blood run cold. Michael says keep filtering. Corporates not paying attention. The board members stared at the screen in silence. Michael's face went pale. I didn't, that's not, Patricia's voice was sharp. Michael, did you instruct staff to discriminate against guests? Michael stammered. No, absolutely not. I gave guidance on maintaining service quality. These employees misinterpreted. Sarah's voice was cold. You gave them cover. You created a system where bias was policy. And when complaints came in, you buried them. Another board member, David Lynn, a hotel industry veteran, spoke. Sarah, what's your recommendation here? Sarah didn't hesitate. Terminate Michael Bennett immediately. Launch a full investigation into every property he oversaw. Contact every guest who filed a complaint in the last 2 years and offer restitution. And implement a new oversight structure so this never happens again. Michael's voice turned desperate. Sarah, we've worked together for 4 years. You know me. I would never, Sarah cut him off. I thought I knew you. But the Michael Bennett I hired wouldn't have protected employees who turned away guests because of the color of their skin. The Michael Bennett I trusted wouldn't have ignored Marcus Hall's reports. And the Michael Bennett I believed in wouldn't have sent emails telling staff to filter people who didn't meet brand standards. She stood, her voice ringing with finality. You're fired, Michael. Effective immediately. Your access to all systems is revoked. Legal will contact you regarding the investigation. And if we find evidence that you knowingly violated civil rights laws, we'll refer this to federal authorities. Michael's face twisted with anger. You're making a mistake. This is going to blow back on you. The board will, Patricia interrupted. The board supports Sarah's decision. Michael, your employment is terminated. We'll be in touch through legal counsel. The screen went black. Michael was gone. Sarah sat back down, exhaling slowly. Jordan closed her laptop. That was the right call. Sarah nodded, but her expression was heavy. For years. I trusted him for 4 years. Jordan's voice was gentle. You hired him because he had the resume. You fired him because he didn't have the character. There's no way you could have known. Patricia spoke up from the video call. Sarah, we need to discuss next steps. This is going to be a media firestorm. Sarah met her gaze through the screen. Let it be. I'm not hiding this. I'm going to hold a press conference tomorrow. I'm gonna lay out exactly what happened, what we found, and what we're doing to fix it. David Lynn nodded. That's bold, but it's the right move. Transparency is the only way forward. Another board member, Helen Morris, a civil rights attorney, added, I'll work with your legal team to ensure we're compliant with all disclosure requirements. And Sarah, for what it's worth, what you did today took guts. A lot of CEOs would have buried this. Sarah's voice was quiet but firm. I didn't build this company to bury problems. I built it to solve them. The board meeting ended. Jordan packed up her files. Sarah stood at the window looking out over the city. Her hotel, her responsibility. Jordan spoke softly. You okay? Sarah didn't turn around. 14 guests. 14 people walked into my hotels expecting to be treated with dignity and walked out feeling less than. That's on me. Jordan stepped beside her. It's on the people who made the choice to treat them that way. You stopped it. Sarah finally looked at her. Did I? Or did I just catch it at one property? How many others are out there? How many Michael Bennetts did I trust because they knew how to talk the talk? Jordan didn't have an answer. Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Ms. Mitchell, guests are asking if you're available. They want to thank you. Sarah allowed herself a small, weary smile. Tell them I'll be down in 5 minutes. She turned to Jordan. Let's go. We have a hotel to rebuild. When Sarah stepped back into the lobby, it was different. The tension from earlier had dissolved into something else. Curiosity, respect, hope. Guests approached her slowly, cautiously, as if unsure whether it was appropriate. The blonde woman who'd been recording stepped forward first. Ms. Mitchell, I'm Emily Bradford. I'm a travel journalist. What you did today, it matters. Not just for this hotel, for the whole industry. Sarah shook her hand. Thank you, but this is just the beginning. Emily nodded. I'd like to cover your story. The real story. Not just what happened today, but what you're going to do next. Sarah considered it, then nodded. Okay, but on one condition. You talk to the guests who were hurt. Not just me. The people who were turned away, delayed, humiliated. Their voices matter more than mine. Emily agreed immediately. Deal. Another guest approached. An older black man Sarah had noticed earlier, the one in the tailored suit. He extended his hand. David Harris. I'm a pastor here in Chicago, and I just want to say you reminded me today why representation matters. Not just in front of the camera, but behind the desk, in the boardroom, at the top. Because when people like us are in charge, this is what accountability looks like. Sarah's throat tightened. Thank you, she said quietly. David smiled. Don't thank me. Just keep doing what you're doing. One by one, guests came forward. Some to thank her. Some to share their own stories of being judged in hotels, restaurants, stores, spaces where they should have been welcomed but were made to feel like intruders. Sarah listened to every single one. And with each story, her resolve hardened. This wasn't just about the Manchester. This was about changing an industry. By the time the lobby emptied, it was past 8 p.m. Marcus approached, his uniform jacket off, tie loosened. Long day, he said. Sarah managed a tired smile. Longest of my life. Marcus hesitated. Can I ask you something? Sarah nodded. Why didn't you just fire them quietly? Handle it behind closed doors? Keep it out of the public eye? Sarah looked around the lobby, at the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the place she'd built from nothing. Because behind closed doors is where this kind of thing thrives. It grows in silence, in whispers, in the understanding that no one will say anything because it's uncomfortable. I'm done with comfortable. Marcus nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're the one in charge. Sarah met his eyes. So am I. Now let's make sure the people we hire next understand what that means. 3 months later, the Manchester Grand looked the same but felt completely different. The marble still gleamed. The chandeliers still sparkled. But the faces behind the desk had changed. New staff, new training, new leadership. And at the center of it all, a framed mission statement Sarah had written herself, displayed prominently behind the check-in counter. We don't serve guests who look the part. We serve every guest like they are the part. Sarah stood in the lobby on a Saturday morning, watching the flow of people. Families, business travelers, couples, solo adventurers, all of them greeted with the same warmth, the same respect, the same assumption of belonging. Marcus approached, now wearing the suit of guest relations director. "Morning, Ms. Mitchell." She smiled. "Morning, Marcus. How's the new team?" He grinned. "They're good. Really good. We had a training session yesterday on implicit bias. One of the new hires, Jennifer, she's former military, spoke up about her own experiences being profiled. Turned into a really powerful conversation." Sarah nodded. "That's what I want. People who aren't afraid to talk about it. Because if we can't talk about it, we can't fix it." Marcus handed her a tablet. "Thought you'd want to see this. Guest reviews from the past 60 days. Sarah scrolled through them. 5 stars. For stars. Glowing comments about the staff, the service, the atmosphere. And then she saw one that made her pause. "I'm a black woman who travels for work constantly. I've been made to feel unwelcome in luxury hotels more times than I can count. But the Manchester Grand was different. From the moment I walked in, I was treated like I mattered. This is what hospitality should be. Thank you." Sarah read it twice, then handed the tablet back to Marcus. "That's why we do this." Marcus nodded. "We've also had 3 other properties reach out asking for our training program. Word's spreading." Sarah smiled. "Good. Let it spread." She glanced at her watch. "I have a board meeting in an hour. New hires to approve for the Detroit property. We're promoting from within this time. People who've been with us, who've seen the change, who get it." Marcus grinned. "You're rebuilding this whole company one hotel at a time." Sarah met his eyes. "That's exactly what I'm doing." As she walked toward the elevator, a young black girl, maybe 10 years old, ran past her, her mother following behind, smiling, apologizing. Sarah laughed. "It's okay." The girl stopped, looked up at Sarah, then at the portrait on the wall behind the desk. She pointed. "Is that you?" Sarah crouched down to her level. "It is." The girl's eyes went wide. "You own this whole place?" Sarah nodded. "I do." The girl grinned. "That's so cool. When I grow up, I'm gonna own a hotel too." Sarah's heart swelled. "Then you're going to need to work hard, dream big, and never let anyone tell you you don't belong." The girl nodded seriously. "Okay, I will." Her mother mouthed, "Thank you," and they walked toward the elevators. Sarah stood, watching them go, and for the first time in months, she felt it. Not just pride, not just relief, but hope, because that little girl had just seen herself reflected in a space that told her she could be anything. And that was worth every uncomfortable conversation, every painful reform, every hard decision. Jordan appeared beside her, as if summoned. Press conference went well. Emily Bradford's article just dropped. It's everywhere, trending on every platform. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Good everywhere or bad everywhere? Jordan smirked. Good. Really good. People are calling you the CEO who actually did something. There's already a hashtag. Sarah groaned. Please don't tell me it's something embarrassing. Jordan grinned. It's not. It's hospitality for all. And it's being used by employees across the industry sharing their own stories, pushing for change at their companies. You started something, Sarah. Sarah exhaled. Then let's make sure it doesn't stop here. She looked around the lobby one last time. This was her legacy. Not the buildings, not the revenue, but the culture, the standard, the belief that every person who walked through those doors deserved to be seen, heard, and respected. And she would spend the rest of her career making sure that belief became reality. Not just at Mitchell Hospitality International, but everywhere. If you believe that respect isn't a luxury, it's a right, share this story. Drop a comment with where you're from and what change you want to see. Hit that subscribe button. And remember, silence protects the system. Your voice dismantles it. Let's keep building.